So, J. Ruud, what lovable book are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint. Jefferson, Mississippi.
I'll need more than that.
All right.
Welcome to Between the Covers, the podcast in which author J. Ruud shares one of his 100 most lovable novels in the English language books each episode, and I, author Stacey Margaret Jones, chat to him about it. So I serve an invaluable purpose. All right. So he does all the homework, and I show up and guess the book. So yeah. I need another hint for this week's novel.
Hint number 2. $1,000 reward for the capture of Joanna Burden's murderer.
Have I read it?
I have a feeling you haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel absolved. Okay. Give me the third hint.
Hint number 3, Joe Christmas.
I got nothing.
All right. This is William Faulkner's Light in August.
I indeed have not read William Faulkner's Light in August. All right. Well, why don't you tell us who else likes this book?
Well, okay. Faulkner, to me, is sort of like Dickens in English literature. There are so many classic books, it's really hard to pick one.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get into that when we talk about why it's lovable. So,
well, just to mention a few. The Sound and the Fury, his 1929 novel, where he used stream of consciousness technique that he learned from reading Joyce, I guess. That one actually is number 6 on the Modern Library's list of the 100 greatest novels of the 20th century. Absalom is sort of the second volume of the story that begins in Sound and the Fury. That's a 1936 novel. It's also on the Modern Library list. As I Lay Dying, a 1930 novel, which has 15 narrators in all of whom are expressing themselves in a stream of consciousness. That is number 35 on the Modern Library list. It's also on the Guardian's list of the best 100 novels in English. It's also on the Observer's list of the 100 greatest novels of all time. But I'm picking Light in August.
Okay, good. I'm glad you reminded me because I lost track of which. I was like, which book are we doing again?
Light in August, 1932. It's less experimental, but it deals with some complex issues of race and gender and class and religion that still resonate in America nearly 100 years after its publication. Light in August also appears on the Modern Library list as number 54. It's on Time Magazine's list of the 100 greatest novels of all time. It's on lists of great world novels from France, Germany, and Brazil. It was ranked 13th on the Oxford Americans list of the best Southern novels of all time.
Oh.
And it came in as number 2 on Literary Hub's list of the quintessential American fiction according to the rest of the world.
Oh, my goodness. All right, then. Okay, so even among Faulkner lovers, this book makes the lists as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not you've not gone completely rogue.
No, I haven't gone off the plantation.
Well, I think it's going to be particularly challenging for you, given what I know about Faulkner, for you to do the down and dirty summary. Remember, we are on an elevator, and you're holding that book, and someone says, "What's that book about?"
Okay.
This is not your 8th grade book report on it.
No, it's not. Let's see how I can do this. Okay. Light in August is the story of Joe Christmas, is the protagonist, who all his life has had rumors circulated about his racial identity.
Oh, okay.
He appears to be a white man, but, okay, I'm getting a little beyond the down and dirty. But there is a question of whether he is part black.
Right.
And there's a secondary protagonist whose name is Lena Grove, who's a pregnant woman who has walked all the way to Jefferson, Mississippi from someplace in Alabama. She's looking for the father of her child. And everybody she meets it tells her, he don't want to see you. He took off. But she's convinced that he's going to want to see her. So they're both outsiders when they come to Jefferson. And the story kind of blossoms from there, I guess.
Okay. I'll give you the Harps of Glory. The reenacting the dialogue for the second character almost took you out of the running. Like that? Nope. All right.
Well, I'm glad I still squeaked in.
Now, when did this book come out?
1932.
Okay, and how long is it?
It is 480 pages.
Okay, so you're making a commitment.
It's a substantial novel.
Yeah, it's not a wee slip of a thing.
No, but compared to Faulkner's other novels, especially Absalom, it's a fairly quick read because it's not so stylistically difficult.
Right.
Although it's still Faulkner.
Right. Well, let's take our time kind of taking that apart. So you said this book is a little more accessible or less experimental, maybe. Is the narrative pretty straightforward in terms of what's happening?
I wouldn't call it straightforward. It covers a certain time period in Jefferson from the time that Joe Christmas arrives there. But there are flashbacks and flashbacks and then flashbacks of flashbacks. So if you were trying to diagram what happens according to a timeline, you'd be all over the place. Mm-hmm. But it's not like it's difficult for you to know this is a flashback. I read this first in contemporary literature class as an undergraduate, which shows you how long ago I was an undergraduate, because Faulkner was still considered a contemporary novelist. And the professor at the time said, I think if you're going to like Faulkner, you're going to like him in Light in August.
Oh, okay. So it's a way to access him.
I think so.
Or start out.
Yeah, because at the same time that I was reading this in that class, I was taking a class in tragedy, and we were reading Absalom as an example of narrative tragedy.
Oh, okay.
And reading them both at the same time.
Oh, my God.
It was like a vacation to go back to Light in August.
Oh, that would break my brain, I think. But I did want to mention, I think that's a good point to make about a book, especially a novel from one of these, kind of lions of literature that have a number of works, and that you could kind of pick what you start with, or if you're interested, where should you go first? I think that is a big part of liking an author or not, right? If you started with The Ambassadors with Henry James. Yeah,
then you would be sick of Henry James.
Jay and negging on Henry James forever and ever, amen. But, I have a friend, Blanca. I was visiting her and her family in Zagreb in 1996, and her mother was, I don't know if she was a Russian literature scholar or... she was an expert enough for me. She loved Dostoevsky. So I said, what's your favorite Dostoevsky? Which is not the question I meant to ask. She said, The Idiot. So I said, okay, thanks. So I read The Idiot. And I would say, I think I asked her later through my friend. I don't think I saw her again, but I asked her later through my friend. I said, well, I read The Idiot and, I found it kind of challenging, And she said that her mother said, well, you didn't ask me what book to start with. You asked me which one was my favorite. That is a different question. And
it is
still,
a different question.
I was not put off Dostoevsky, but it was not the book to start with.
No.
So I think that's a really good point to make. And let's talk about, I think in that vein, let's talk about how you chose A Light in August as your most lovable Faulkner book.
Well, it would be a good one to start with. Actually, if you want to start with maybe the easiest Faulkner book to read, it's The Reivers.
Which we read aloud.
Yeah.
That is the only Faulkner I have read, actually.
Oh, wow. But, I mean, it's a good entry point.
Yeah.
It was one of his later novels. It won the Pulitzer Prize, but it's really considered, kind of a very minor novel.
That might be one of those cases where they're giving him a Pulitzer for lifetime achievement.
That probably is the case.
Yeah.
Although he also won another one for another novel that's really kind of outside of his typical writing.
How interesting for him.
Yeah.
He's like doing his thing. He's created Faulknerian style, and then he wins prizes for not writing Faulknerian style books.
Yeah, well, the particularly interesting thing about that is that he won the Nobel Prize in 1949.
Right.
And when he won the Nobel Prize, his audience in America was pretty small. Mm-hmm. He was kind of thought of as a regional writer that wrote books that often were violent and that were hard to read.
Yeah.
And so he didn't win a Pulitzer Prize until after he had won a Nobel Prize.
Oh, and then the Pulitzer people were like, maybe we should
have paid attention to
him. Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah. He really didn't have a really wide following in America until after he won the Nobel Prize.
That's an interesting aspect, I think, of the Nobel Prize, though, is because, except for Swedish people, the Nobel Committee is not in your country.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a look at what's happening from a wider perspective. And a bigger community.
Yeah.
So
it's like that Literary Hub's list of the quintessential American fiction according to the rest of the world.
Right.
They ranked this novel as number 2. But in America, Absalom, As I Lay Dying, Sound the Fury would all be kind of ranked in front of it.
Right. So why did you pick it instead of those others? Because you're really doing your idiosyncratic list of the novels I like the most. But I do want to say that it is not that. I mean, your choices are informed by your career as a literature professor and your expertise as a medieval scholar and as a writer and yourself. So I don't want it to be just like Fred's list, but
it's Jay's list.
It's just Jay's list. But why do you find this one the most lovable?
Well, I think part of that I already explained in talking about it, reading it at the same time as Absalom, which is in many ways his most difficult book. It's a breath of fresh air, I think, after that. But it still is Faulkner. It still is in his style. For instance, so here's a 114-word sentence from late in the novel. He's known for his long sentences.
Pages long.
Sometimes. Go Down Moses has a sentence, I think it's in The Bear, that is 8 pages long.
I can't.
But this one's only 114 words. It's late in the novel when a new character actually is being introduced. He's a military guy, a youngster who was too late to be in World War I when he was in the service, and so is trying to make up for that by showing how brave he is. Anyway, he could now see his life opening before him, uncomplex and inescapable as a barren corridor, completely freed now of ever again having to think or decide, the burden which he now assumed and carried as bright and weightless and martial as his insignatory brass, a sublime and implicit faith in physical courage and blind obedience, and a belief that the white race is superior to any and all other races, and that the American is superior to all other white races, and that the American uniform is superior to all men, and that all that would ever be required of him in payment for this belief, this privilege, would be his own life.
Oh. That's all.
That's all you got to do.
Oh,
but I challenge you to diagram that sentence.
I decline the challenge.
It's 2 independent clauses.
Yeah.
One of which has a compound subject, 5 subordinate clauses, and a myriad of adjectival phrases. It's what we expect from Faulkner.
Yeah, but I will say when you read it, I mean, I wasn't like maybe the 8-page sentence. I was not confused. I mean, it's a well-organized sentence. You don't always hear sentences are not always done so in books that you read, right?
Yeah,
a short sentence can be very unclear and muddled, and this is, even though it's 114 words, it is controlled.
Yeah, but it's still a compound, complex sentence,
right,
so it's a difficult structure.
Right.
But the other thing about it, as you kind of revealed in your reaction to the end of it, Faulkner's sentences often surprise us with an unexpected twist at the end.
Yeah. I mean, there's a payoff. Stick with it. Stick with it. Stick with it.
Here's one. There's a character in the book who's a lapsed minister. His name is Hightower. His wife has died. He's been kind of disowned by his church, so he's an outsider living in Jefferson. So in that way, he's similar to Lena and to Joe Christmas.
Yeah, we have these outsiders.
Yeah, but this is his reaction to reading Tennyson. It does not take long. Soon the fine galloping language, the gutless swooning full of sapless trees and dehydrated lusts, begins to swim smooth and swift and peaceful. It is better than praying without having to bother to think aloud. It is like listening in a cathedral to a eunuch chanting in a language which he does not even need to understand. So that, again, you got that kind of snap at the end. And here's one more. It is because so much happens, too much happens. That's it. Man performs and genders so much more than he can or should have to bear. That's how he finds that he can bear anything. That's it. That's what is so terrible, that he can bear anything. Anything.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot in there. There's a reason that Faulkner is so respected and so revered and on the list, because he's got things to say, and he is obviously a master craftsman at saying them. Yeah. So what do you find in terms of, I think what we're talking about is kind of technical or unemotional. How emotional is the book? What's the emotional center of this novel?
Well, it's the thematic aspect of it. It's what it says about race and about prejudice and about gender, especially with poor Lena. The most emotionally engaging issue in the novel explores the obsession with race that I think you see in most of Faulkner's novels, this obsession with race that persists in the rural South of 1932, 3/4 of a century after the Civil War. And, of course, American obsession with race has not disappeared even now. Just 7 years short of a century since Faulkner wrote this book.
But after the Civil War and the kind of effort to recreate the conditions of enslavement for Black people was the focus of Warmth of Another Sun, I think, by Isabel Wilkerson, about the Great Migration, because people literally could not stand to live in the South, even though they were technically free men and women, right?
Yeah.
Could not stand because of the conditions of the South. So it's not like, people just decided. And then, of course, that is not a novel. It reads like an epic novel, but it also then deals with the prejudice and racism they encountered in the places they went. Northern industrial cities, California, et cetera. So... yeah. I mean, that's America's original sin.
Oh, yeah.
That we still grapple with.
The difference with Joe Christmas is that he seems to be a white man to people who meet him, but his skin is a little bit darker than the typical white person's skin. So he could be, Italian or Greek or Spanish or something.
Right.
But he's an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
He's delivered to this. This obviously is in one of the flashbacks. He's delivered to this orphanage on Christmas Eve as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this rumor begins among the children as he grows up there that he has Negro blood.
Mm-hmm.
And despite what he looks like, despite that he eventually is adopted by a white family, it's not one of his more pleasant experiences, because this guy McEachern is his adopted father, and he's a really strict fundamentalist and basically tries to beat religion into Joe until his 18th birthday, when Joe pays back the beating and takes off. But this idea of his, whether or not he has this...
Is it that one drop theory?
It's the one drop theory.
If you have any African blood, then you are not white.
You are not white.
Yeah.
And there's only, you can either be white or black. There ain't no in between.
Right. No gray area in the
no gray area in the white black
in the social construct.
Yeah. But in the novel, there's this woman whose name is Joanna Burden, and she lives in this kind of fancy house. But she too is an outsider. Her family came to Mississippi after the Civil War. Mm-hmm. They were carpetbaggers from the North. Yeah. And so she's kind of not...
What is the size of this town, Jefferson?
I don't know what the population is. It's a fictional town.
Right.
It's the county seat of Yoknapatawpha County.
So it's a big, small town.
It's a big, small town,
okay.
Yeah. So Joe Christmas rents this sort of cabin that's on the land that Joanna Burden owns, and he starts having an affair with her. There's another character whose name is Lucas Birch. Lucas Birch is actually the father of Lena Grove's child. Mm-hmm. And she has heard that he might be in Jefferson. And he is, but he's there under a different name. He's under the name of Brown. And he shares a cabin with Joe Christmas. Mm-hmm. And they go into sort of a bootlegging operation together. The woman, Joanna, is murdered. And she's...
Is that a spoiler?
Not really. It's not really a spoiler, since I already gave you the clue that there's $1,000 reward for her murder.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I can't.
But anyway, and the house is burned down, and they find Brown or Lucas Birch in the house while it's burning. He says, "Don't go upstairs," which is where her body is. And then he splits, and the police are like, "We got to find this guy."
He's scarpered.
But then, as soon as this reward is offered, she had a nephew or something living in New Hampshire who offers this $1,000 reward for the capture of her murderer. And as soon as Lucas Birch hears this, he's back in town saying, "Joe Christmas did it."
Oh.
And when he mentions that Joe Christmas is part black...
I knew that was coming.
The police completely stopped looking at him, even though he was found in the house with the body while it was on fire. And they start looking for Joe Christmas, because he must have done it, because this is what black people do.
Right.
They rape and murder white women.
Right.
And so he's considered guilty before he's ever even captured or arrested. It's really, really disturbing. But it's really kind of twists you inside to see this happening. Joe Christmas is not the nicest guy in the world.
Right.
He's done some fairly bad things, but nothing like this.
He's a human being.
He's a human being. And I think the most interesting thing in the novel, finally, is that Faulkner never lets us know the answer to the two riddles. We don't know if Joe Christmas has any black blood in him.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know if he killed Joanna or not.
Because we don't know if the other guy did it either.
Nope.
Interesting. That's interesting. That's a cool choice as a writer to make because it makes you focus on what the writer wants to focus on, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, it doesn't matter what his ethnic background is, right?
Yeah.
Like
that doesn't determine whether he did the crime or not.
There's no need for a definitive answer because, like I said, it's all socially constructed anyway.
Yeah.
It's how the people respond to him based on what they think they know about him.
Yeah. And it completely changes if suddenly they start to think, oh, well, maybe he has some black blood in him.
And it's also, I think, fascinating to me because there are things we cannot know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to a lot of true crime, as listeners know, and there are so many times when, people have these strong opinions on these different cases, and I'm like, I don't think it is possible to know, right? Like, you could make a case for either side there, unless somebody comes forward and says, I did it, right? Like some of them, it is very clear who did it, right?
Yeah.
But some of them is, there are people on both sides that would practically fight to the death over it because they're just sure. And sometimes we cannot know. And it sounds like, by choosing that for his plot, he's redirecting you to other aspects of these characters' lives.
Yeah.
Or also asking you to examine your own feelings.
How are you? Did you automatically assume that he did the murder, as many of Faulkner's Southern readers probably did when they read this?
Well, there's a lot of richness and ambiguity for the mind of the reader.
Yeah. And you think late in the novel that you are finally going to find out Joe Christmas's origins, because these two people show up when they hear that he's been arrested for this murder. And it's his grandmother and grandfather.
Oh, fascinating.
The grandfather, when his daughter was pregnant, threw her out of the house. So there's a kind of parallel with Lena Grove.
Right.
She claimed that this man that she had sex with was a Mexican. At least he told her that's what he was. The grandfather, he's not sure what the guy was, but he probably was black. And in fact, the grandfather becomes a janitor at the orphanage where Joe Christmas is raised.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he probably is the one that started the rumor that he was black. I mean,
he would not let him be.
No.
You rejected him, just let him go.
And he's there to kill him.
Oh, okay.
That's what he's come to do. So that kind of like Joe's foster father, he's got this righteous Christian attitude that he needs to wipe out this sin that his family has created and leashed upon the world. The grandmother is there to stop him. But, of course, what's happened is you still don't know what his actual origin is, because you don't know
it can't be known
who the actual father was and what his ethnic makeup was.
Well, and sometimes in life, the resolution is no resolution.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, it's just redirecting your attention back into your own reaction. How much do you care? How much do you need to know?
Yeah.
Right. And also just depicting the people and how obsessed they are with something that is just so immaterial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how it means so much to them. And it is really just constructed, right?
Yeah. And you have these outsiders who don't have the same reactions.
Right, because of that.
Hightower, the minister, is perfectly willing to give Joe Christmas the benefit of the doubt. He's even willing to sacrifice himself somehow to help him. And then there's another guy who has been in the town for many years, but he's really kind of an outsider. His name is Byron Bunch. Mm-hmm. And when Lena was told that her child's father, Lucas Birch, is in Jefferson working at this planing mill, it seems obvious to the reader that whoever told her that was mixing up the names, because Byron Bunch sounds kind of like Birch.
Yeah.
But in fact, Birch is there. He's just under a pseudonym.
Oh, right.
His name is Brown. But Byron Bunch is the first person she meets when she gets to town. She goes straight to the planing mill where he works. And he's there by himself because it's a Saturday, but he goes in and works overtime kind of on his own responsibility. And he is very mild manners. He's very upright. He's friends with Hightower. So he's kind of an outsider in this town. And he dedicates himself to helping Lena find the person she's looking for, even though he's in love with her himself.
Right. Which is, I would say, more Christian than going to an orphanage to kill your grandchild.
Well, no, he comes to town to kill the grandson.
Right.
He went to the orphanage to keep an eye on him and to ruin his reputation among his peers.
Also not Christian.
Yeah.
Well, it's a selfless love, right?
Yeah, which is also what Hightower has. Hightower, in fact, Byron goes to him to ask him to deliver the baby because he's done it before. Mm-hmm. He's done it once before in his life. But that's another story that ends up with you not knowing how it's going to turn out.
Well, don't go too much into it. I want somebody who listens to this and decides to read it to have something left to discover. Not just the sentence
what I'm telling you is
structure.
There's nothing to discover because Faulkner never tells you.
You know what I mean, mister.
But anyway, that story has a kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, well, that's the way the novel is structured.
Yeah.
That sounds like there are, the themes that he's talking about. And he depicts these people in very realistic ways, which is that there are things you will never know about other people, no matter how well you think you know them.
Yeah.
Sometimes because, in the case of Joe Christmas, he doesn't know himself, right?
No, he doesn't. But he believes that he is part black, maybe because everybody has told him that. Yeah. And you see him among black people, where he feels just as alienated, I think, as he does with white people. So you just don't know about him. Here's one of Faulkner's interesting sentences again. Well, not sentences; it's a couple of sentences, but
okay.
He never denied it. He never did anything. He never acted like either an N-word or a white man. That was it. That was what made folks so mad. That they didn't know either. So they couldn't categorize him.
Right. And yet he dared to live his life, and he didn't know for sure he was white. Like, how dare he be happy, right?
Yeah.
How dare he exist? He doesn't know for sure he's white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when that's your sole criteria for in-group status, people concentrate far too much on it.
Yeah, you think?
That's my incredibly insightful sentence for this episode.
Yeah.
Well, why might people not like A Light in August?
Well, They might not like Faulkner's depicting racism as a bad thing. I'll tell you what happened. This book was translated into German shortly after it was published in 1932.
Oh, that's an interesting time.
And it became very popular in Nazi Germany because they didn't realize it was ironic.
Well, and they also were learning a lot from the United States system of both kind of formal and informal racist systems, how to apply those to their own ends.
Yeah.
So that was great. Yeah, that's interesting because they would read it with an eye for their own obsession with race
with
and
one drop of Jewish blood.
The arbitrariness of race. Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I suppose they thought that the heroes were the racists.
Maybe. I suppose some people don't like it because of the word you had to skip in that.
Yeah, it's like many of Faulkner's novels. There's a lot of use of the N-word
because he's writing how people speak.
Yeah, it would not be surprising in 1932 in Mississippi to hear someone use that word.
Right. But it can be jarring for a reader today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where on the list? How do you rank it? What's its number?
All right. I am going to put this at number 20.
Oh, that's pretty good. Top half.
So, yeah. So right after the end of the affair.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Right before Wuthering Heights.
That's interesting because it's right after Green, who has such a different style than Faulkner. And then Bronte is a little more toward Faulkner on that continuum. Kind of between them.
Yeah,
but,
in terms of complexity of sentence structure and things.
I think any great novel is going to deal with these large themes of human experience in a controlled kind of small microcosmic way that's relatable, right?
Yeah.
And all of those books are doing those things.
Yeah.
They're all grappling with those issues.
That is true.
All right. Well, awesome. Okay, that was a surprise. I mean, I should have known Faulkner was coming at me, but and he is not. There's only two that have two on the list, right? And
yeah. So I've
we're done with Faulkner now.
Yeah, just putting one.
Well, this is interesting. I haven't read it, and I would, after this discussion, I'd be a lot more interested in reading it. I don't think I would read it aloud. I think the sentence structure would be better for somebody to read, for me to see the words on the page.
Yeah.
Than to backtrack if I need to, etc. So
yeah. Although I did listen to it.
But you'd read it before.
But I had read it before, yeah.
That might be part of it.
But if you get a good narrator,
sure,
you might be able to listen to it.
I would want the value of those sentence endings.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to miss that.
They do kind of snap it. We talked about Joyce and his use of epiphany in his short stories and in
that was
Portrait
really
of the Artist. And you talked about how that same idea is kind of there in poems where you get that kind of turn and sort of zip at the end. I think Faulkner's sentences are like that a lot of the time.
Yeah. It would be interesting to take a Faulkner sentence as a found poem.
Yeah, I think you could do that.
And kind of thoughtfully divide the lines to emphasize, not along punctuation marks, but along emphasis, or also enjambment, right? To create more ambiguity in the sentence and then to resolve the ambiguity with the beginning of the next line. And I mean, that would be a fun exercise, I think.
Especially that one sentence that I talked about, that I read, where it ends. That's what is so terrible, that he can bear anything.
Yeah.
I could see that as a poem.
It is poetic. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. Thank you
Okay.
so much for that.
Oh, you are welcome. And now it must be time for Chaos Reader.
All right. Well, next time I'm going to give an update on my Irish novel that I'm reading, which I'm really enjoying. But since Chaos Reader doesn't always read, I thought I would talk. It's when you hear this, it will have been a while. But Diane Keaton, we found out this past weekend in our space-time continuum that Diane Keaton had died. And so on Sunday, you and I watched 4 Diane Keaton movies, one of which was Baby Boom, which is, I used to watch that on repeat in my 20s, early 20s. I had it on VHS, and I would just watch it all the time. And I used to feel kind of like I shouldn't enjoy this so much because it's anti-feminist, right? She's a very powerful business. She's a management consultant. She's about to make partner. She works all the time. One of the lines, there's like this voiceover in the beginning about how she is J.C. Wyatt, and she's married to her job and lives with an investment banker who's married to his, right? Like, it's like they don't want kids. And she basically, a distant cousin dies and she inherits, so to speak, his toddler. Mm. She's the only one to take care of her, and she decides to take care of her. She moves to the country because that was one of the things she always did, was circle ads for country houses, which shows you that there's a part of her that fantasizes about an escape, right, from this life that she has created. And she moves to the country to take care of her baby, and, the country house is a money pit. I mean, just everything costs $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. She literally runs out of water in her well, right? And she says to the guy, just put some more in. That's easy. There's a hose in the front of the yard. So, and this time when I was watching it, I was really struck by how kind of wrong I had been about it, because in her new life, she invents, so to speak, gourmet baby food, because she's just always cooking applesauce for her baby because there's nothing else to do, and starts selling it. And so she builds this big company herself, right? And then, of course, the people that fired her when she started trying to integrate being a parent with her management job want her to come back because they want to do a big deal with her company. And what I realized this time was that it is incredibly feminist, because it says that when she is allowed to work in the way that best suits her life, she creates something new and wonderful that people want. And when she isn't constrained by the kind of male model of business, which is, I don't even know my grandkids' names. That's what her boss says. Or he says, I don't even know how many grandkids I have. Right?
Oh, geez, that's even worse.
Yeah.
I have 4.
Yeah. The point is so interesting to me, though, because as a younger person, I kind of missed it. Like, she's supposed to be happy this way, and the movie doesn't let her be happy doing what she wants, right? The movie makes her be a mom in order to be happy. But then, now that I'm older, I thought it's really beautiful, because she's not a management consultant anymore, like telling other people what to do with their businesses. She is able to create her own business and live the life that she wants because she has latitude to do it. And I feel like that's really something any company and any organization can think about, is what more would our stakeholders contribute to us if we allowed them to live the lives that gave them this latitude to be a whole person instead of just, a cog. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. And of course, another thing I noticed about Baby Boom that I probably didn't notice earlier was that her physical comedy in that movie is so good, but it's seamless. I think unless you're looking out for it, you're just laughing, it's funny. But when you really look at her performance, she's kind of reminds me of Steve Martin in some of the scenes, the way that she just really, is so adept at the physical comedy aspect of it. And that movie's great. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, then.
I've talked too long, but Anyway, that's what Chaos Reader was thinking about.
Okay.
All right. So we'd like to thank our producing sensei, Jerry Bruno, who helps us and makes the YouTube cover art and has helped us with our many millions of questions along the way. Any day now we'll figure out how to do this.
Any day now.
It's always a new adventure every time we try to do one of these. We want to thank all of our listeners and viewers and subscribers. Please do subscribe and share and like. Tell one of your book-loving friends about us. And we'll see you next time. Between
Between the covers.